to the Bitcoin workshop. This is part one of a three-part series of the unstoppable ultimate form of currency, brought to you by How to Crypto. On part one of the series, we first need to talk about the problems of money. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So let's figure out why it is broken and why there is a solution that is needed for the world. We're going to talk about what is money, what value does it have, the weaponization of the dollar, the change of power that is happening today, and everybody wants control. That is the biggest problem of money today. So let's jump right in. What is money? What is money? What value does it have? We'll go over next. But what is money itself? Money should be something that if you accumulate, you should be able to be confident that in the future it's going to have the same value as it had in the past, right? If I accumulate money today, I should be able to save it. I should be able to have that value that it once had. Is that the case today? No. All right, our money is losing value at a very rapid scale. So, what is money? What is your money today? You might think of it as a piece of paper. What is it backed by? You might think of it as a digital representation. Who has control over it? Who's printing it? Those are things that we will be talking about. What is money? More importantly, what is the monetary policy of our money today or tomorrow? You can tell me the interest rate today. You could tell me the inflation rate of the past and today. But what about tomorrow? What is the interest rate tomorrow going to be? How much inflation are we going to be seeing over the past year, past 10 years? How can you make economic decisions with your money when you do not know what's ahead? If you have a large amount of money today and you wanted to save that value, how do you do so? I guarantee you're not saving it in cash. You're not saving it in money because you know we have inflation. We know that you're going to be losing money if you hold it. So what are you doing? You're investing it. You're taking risk in hope that you're able to retain value, or you're purchasing goods that retain their value for you, right? But shouldn't monetary policy, shouldn't it be known? Shouldn't you be able to plan ahead? Shouldn't our money be set in stone? Shouldn't there be no control of it? Also, what is money? There's a big difference in money, and there's fractional reserve banking. If you've never heard of fractional reserve banking, what it means is they can take your customer deposits and they can create credit from those deposits. So when you go to the bank, you buying a house, buying a car, and you think that you're borrowing money from a bank, you are not borrowing money from somebody else. You're not borrowing somebody else's deposits. You're borrowing a very small amount of deposits, but what you're borrowing is credit. They have a fraction of the money, and they get to create credit from that money. And you're borrowing credit. The way banking should have worked is you're borrowing somebody else's deposits, you're paying an interest which goes to those deposit holders, and the bank collects a small fee. That's not the case anymore. The bank is creating credit out of thin air, and they are collecting all of the interest for themselves. Because I know when you deposit money, what interest are you getting? You're not getting too much of it. Also, did you know the people in control over our money and our monetary policy isn't even a part of our government? Our government has to borrow money from an independently central bank. Our government borrows money from a private, independently ran central bank. Just so you know. The Federal Reserve isn't part of our government. It's an independently owned central bank. So not only do we have control over the monetary policy of tomorrow, we don't even know who's in control over the monetary policy of tomorrow, and we have no idea what they're going to do. And to prove this, I'm going to show you a video next of a Fed president telling you what they've done.
Can you characterize everything that the Fed has done this past week as essentially flooding the system with money.
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that.
There is no end to our ability to do that.
There is no end in their ability to flood the system with money. And we, as we use the money, have to suffer the consequences of them flooding the system with money to keep things afloat, to keep things kind of running. Is that something that you can prepare for? Is that something that money should be? Shouldn't money be completely stable? And if certain people borrowed too much or certain people did things that they shouldn't have done, shouldn't they suffer the consequences of instead of these people flooding the system with money to back them up? Right? So that asks the question number four, what value does our money have if it could just be printed into oblivion? If it could just be printed, what value does it have? What money? What is the value of money? What is it backed by? Well, our money isn't backed by gold. Some people today still think the money is backed by gold. That ended in 1971, a long time ago. You might also hear that the petrodollar. You're right. The dollar is backed by the petro system. And what that means is all petrol or oil needs to be traded in dollars. They created an economy around the dollar, and it has settlement currency of oil. All oil is traded in dollars. That creates a massive amount of liquidity into the dollar. And that liquidity uh, makes it easy for countries to settle trades. If I have a trade deficit, I can easily sell some resources, have the dollar. I know the dollar is going to have liquidity for me, and I can give that to another country, and that country can then go buy goods and services with that dollar. And that is great. That has been the case for a very long time, and countries wanted to participate in this game because it's been a pretty fair game, right? Well, now we have a flood of money into the system, and what is happening is who has the ability to borrow dollars, who can create dollars and borrow it for nothing. That is America. So America has been printing money or borrowing an enormous supply of money, and they can buy whatever they want to get their hands on. Is that fair to all the other countries that can't print the dollar? They have to print something else? Absolutely not. Would you want to play a game of Monopoly if a certain player has an unlimited supply of money? Would you ever be able to beat them at their game? Would that be a fair game at all? That's the case today. And people are forced to play. Why are they forced to play? Well, because the dollar has all the liquidity. The dollar has the economy behind it. What is everything backed by? What are all the stocks backed by? What are the commodities markets backed by? The plumbing, the settlement layers that work the SWIFT system, they all run on the dollar. And there's no change in the banker. What does that mean? I mean, there's no change in the currency, right? If I give you a stack of Monopoly money, would that Monopoly money necessarily be valuable in a different game? I mean, yeah, you could try to utilize that, but the Monopoly money has the money in the game of Monopoly. The dollar has the value in the game of Monopoly. The way the global economy runs, the plumbing underneath, the SWIFT system, all of that runs on the dollar. You need the Monopoly money, you need the dollar in order to play. And do countries have the ability to borrow money from their central bank? Yes. Do they have the ability to borrow dollars? No. America does. And that comes with our problem number three, and that is the weaponization of the dollar. The America can borrow money at any point in time, and we've seen the debt ceiling continue to raise. We've seen them continuously borrowing, and getting in more and more debt, and people are forced to buy our debt because they're forced to play in that game. Another biggest issue is the weaponization of it. Since America owns the world reserve currency, since everybody is forced to participate in this game, America has been going around for the past decades and decades and decades and say, hey, we want to build this military base in your country, and if you don't allow us to, we're going to ruin you economically. We have these investments that you're going to make. We have these policies that you're going to pass. And any country that goes against them, we are going to inflate your economy and make it very difficult for you to survive, and your citizens are going to have to suffer the consequences. Look at Venezuela, to give you a very good example. Also, very recently, we've had even more sanctions come to the news light of freezing assets, of cutting people off the payment networks and the banking systems. So you have countries that may do something that America doesn't like, and they say, oh, we're going to cut you out of the banking system. We're going to freeze your assets. America has the ability to do that because they have the world's reserve currency, and the economy, the economic system runs on the dollar. And so what does that do? That actually has backfired on America, because these big countries now, they still need to trade settlements. They still have imports and exports. They still need to have an economy to run. They're not just going to sit there and, okay, well, we can't use our banking system, so what now? What are they doing? They can't print money and ruin their economy to survive like most countries had to in the past. There's only one option now, and that option is to create a new system, to create a new game. It doesn't matter how much money they print or how many this, if they can't have access to that game, they have to create another game. They have to create a new system for them to trade and settle currencies. So that's going to lead us to the change of power. Now we don't have one game everybody's playing. Now another game, more games are being developed. Now we're having a change of power that's happening right in front of us. Here's a little snippet of BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This was a 2014 conference picture of, but the headline was produced in 2015, as you can see. But it says, can BRICS countries move away from the dollar? The de-dollarization process has been in talks for a very long time. The weaponization of the dollar, the printing of the dollar has been happening for a very long time, and countries need a way out. Do they still want to play the game? But they have to develop another game to play, right? And so now we are seeing a de-dollarization process. Now we are seeing more and more weaponization of it. Now we're seeing more hostility because there is another game to be played. Right. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa is making moves to get away from the dollar, and how they get other countries on board is they got to offer a better system than what's currently available. First, I believe they're going to start with a gold-backed currency. But a gold-backed currency is not the solution to money, which I'll go over next. The fact is, de-dollarization, moving away from the dollar, it might be something that most people think will never happen in our lifetime, but it's been in talks for over a decade, and it is now in the news. It is in the public light that many countries are trying to get away from the dollar. They're tired of it being weaponized. They're tired of one country being able to print as much money as they want for themselves and to buy everything. And they're tired of the centralization of money. And to beat centralization money, first you have to offer centralization of money, but just a better system. And this is where problem number one comes, and everybody wants control. But who do you give control to? Should money be in control? Should it have any interference of it? Should there be manipulation of the money? Money shouldn't be manipulated by anybody. It shouldn't be centralized at all. A perfect money, that is today. And this is the problem with gold. First, BRICS absolutely might offer countries a gold-backed currency, and that is only to drive liquidity out of the dollar into a different currency while two systems kind of exist, because you have to funnel currency out, providing liquidity. Let's offer them something better. Let's get them into something else. And when that crumbles down, there will absolutely be a fight for power. Who controls the money controls the world. There will be an absolute fight for money. And you know who's going to win at the end? We are, the people. Well, because the people will demand a currency that is not backed by anything, that is decentralized, right? And that's why you are watching this seminar, to understand what the problem of money is, what the solution is as well. And let's go over why gold is not the option. Well, you can't take gold and you can't just send it across the seas in seconds. It's not digital, it's physical. You can't just, let's just give you an example. How can a country settle $1 billion settlement quickly with gold? They can't. Well, now the question becomes, well, why can't we have IOUs? We've always had gold IOUs forever. And the reason why it's backed by gold is because it's sacred, it's hard to get out of the ground, you have to work for it and all that stuff. But is it also fair? Not all countries can produce gold. There's not gold in every country. So is it fair to other countries? No. And here comes the biggest issue with gold. Gold has to be kind of stored. Who's storing it, and how is it stored securely? Well, if it needs to be stored and it's physical, what is preventing somebody from coming to take it? And what is the real value if somebody can come and take it? The real value isn't gold. The real value is the military. If you have the strongest military, you could go take everybody's gold and then you can sit on it and protect it. So what is the real value? Is the real value the gold? Or is the real value the bully, the military, that could come take the gold and say they have the value? Right? Gold sets up a war-based economic system where whoever has the strongest military has the value of the world. And that's another reason why the dollar has so much value and got so valuable, because we've had the strongest military of the world. Just to prove my point, here's a great little picture from some of the wars recently. The weapon of mass destruction was the gold itself. So let's go over the problems with money today. What is money? What is money? Do we even have confidence in money today? Do you have confidence in your money today? Would you hold your money for a decade? What value does it have? What value is our money? Do we have value? Is it backed by anything? Do we know a stable policy? Do we know is it going to have value in the future? Do we know what currency is going to be valuable? The problem of weaponizing the money. Should one person be able to hold hostage other people's money? Is that a fair economic system? Imagine if you can't have access to your bank accounts. Also, the weaponization of bank accounts itself. How many people can't have a bank account, don't have a bank account? It's too expensive, or it's not available in their countries. Shouldn't a money be available to everybody? Also, we have a big problem with the change of power. There's a change of power happening right in front of our eyes. And who's going to come out on top? What money is going to come out on top? What money is going to be the future of money? What economic system are we going to be playing in? Everybody wants control is the biggest problem today with money. Nobody should be in control over money. Nobody should have control over the money. And no military should be able to control everybody's money or come take your money. There should be no control. It should be decentralized. And these are the things that we are going to talk about in part 2. What is the solution? What is the ultimate currency? What's the unstoppable currency? And that is Bitcoin. And in order to you to understand, tune into part 2 and you can see the solutions of money. And part 3, we'll be talking about the opportunities that are available to the world and to yourself. I thank you for your time. If you'd like to follow me on social media or get some consulting and check out my educational courses that I have on Udemy, you could scan my QR code. It will take you to my link tree. You could also visit my website, howtocrypto.org. And I'm going to leave you with a quote that I live by. The best investment one can make is being a good person. Be a good person. Remember, smiles are contagious. Have a great day. Peace.